So anyway, welcome everybody. I'm Pat Kraft. I'm the president of the Chamber of Commerce, and we are thrilled that you're taking time out of your evening to spend an hour, learn a bit more about Magnolia and ways that we can help you make your business better. This evening is born out of our efforts that we are busy working. While you're busy doing your careers, you can be assured that the Chamber volunteers are always busy advocating for Magnolia, coming up with new ways to support Magnolia. This is Magnolia-wide, as I often say. The Chamber of Commerce incorporates a wide area from when you drive up 15th, you see Staples. Staples, a member of the Chamber of Commerce. When you work your way over to Chinook's, that's a member of the Chamber of Commerce. And businesses, big and small, in between, we're all about the Chamber, and we're supporting a large economic sort of a presence. And to that end, in support of the economy, and particularly time like this, we are thinking ahead for opportunities to support you in a variety of ways, like an evening like this. And several months ago, we reached out through David Doherty's efforts and others within the Chamber to get some greater minds, some different perspective on Magnolia. And there's no better place to look than the University of Washington's Foster School of Business, highly regarded for all their efforts. And if you've never gone up there to the Foster School of Business, it's a little tough now, but when things open up, walk up there and see the energy in that building. It is amazing. We had meetings up there, and you walk into that environment, and it's open story, open architecture, and you look around the room and floor to floor, open conference rooms, people gathering. It's a brilliant beehive of activity of new thinking about business. So from that, graduate students were nice enough to look at our Chamber and Magnolia and help us see ourselves differently and help provide some insights, which is always great. More opinions, the better. So to that end, graduate students studied Magnolia, and they're going to help us see ourselves and how we can connect better in the future, connect in more modern ways and the latest ways, reflect on the demographics of Magnolia, which is ever changing. As a realtor, I've worked Magnolia for many years, and in particular, I can say it's been a dramatic change in the last 17 years of Magnolia as you watch the demographics dynamic change. And to that end, you have different consumers, and we have different business needs, and we have a different perspective to share and broaden our reach and support of everyone who's working. So to business owners, employees, this is what our energy is about, supporting you. And so tonight, I'll turn it over to one of the leads of this study, Chris Rogenbuck. He's headed up this insight, and through different presentations, one is tonight, is help us see ourselves differently and understand the future of our outreach as businesses. So thank you for being here. We appreciate it. And I'll turn tonight over to Chris.
Great. Thank you so much, Pat. And I appreciate everybody who's carved out time from your busy schedules to be here, and appreciate the warm welcome and reception here. I'm going to go ahead and share my slide deck here that we're going to go through. And I'll just ask, can everyone see this all right now? Just some thumbs up, maybe.
You look good.
Awesome. That's fantastic. So like Pat said, I'm Chris Rogenbuck. I'm a graduate student with the Foster School of Business. I'm actually in the evening program at Foster, and I'm a full-time manager at Google in South Lake Union. And I've been in the tech industry for over a decade in a variety of roles. I'm also a Magnolia resident. So this project was a great opportunity to take my passion for the community and as well for tech and business and meld them together in a way that I hope, like I was saying earlier, that you find helpful, and that maybe sparks an idea or sparks an activity that helps your business. And that to me would be just an immense reward for the work that we did. As Pat was saying, there was a whole Foster team behind this. There were 3 of us who led this study. Specifically, Bryce and Devin aren't able to be here at this point with this workshop, but try to represent all that work and energy and research that we put into this program over the last few months in a way that hopefully helps you. So just looking at what I hope to cover tonight, and also plug for the future, the second workshop here, we're going to go into some details about what we found with our fresh take on the Magnolia market, using data to drive our insights, and hopefully be able to provide you some profiles and information that will help you connect or think about your consumers in a new light. And then I want to try to equip you with some tools and talk through some of the strategies at a relatively high level about reaching these consumers where they interact, where they consume information, where they search for products and services. And I know everybody may be on a different, coming with different contexts or starting from a different place with regard to, understanding your consumers, your business's stance on your product and services for the local environment, and also your digital profile. So I just want to reiterate that this is going to be a relatively high level kind of survey course into the Magnolia market that we found, and a variety of options, especially digital, in terms of reaching them. So there will be time for Q&A after. I would just ask that you hold your questions until we're done with the actual presentation portion. And then the final plug is, even though this is an overview survey type look at this information, we'll have a follow-up session August 25th with a more in-depth deep dive in terms of putting these strategies to use. So if this tonight whets your appetite, come back next month and we'll hopefully satisfy that to a greater degree. So before we get too far here, I just want you to think about a Magnolian, a parent maybe who's sitting at home and they've been, socially distancing and staying in their house for the last 5 months, and they're tired of cooking and they're tired of the dishes, and maybe they're frustrated everybody's living in the same very close space. And I want you to think about how they may engage with solving this problem. They're faced with this challenge of saying, I don't want to cook tonight, so what do I do? They're not necessarily strolling down to the neighborhood. They're going online. They're looking up that search, and they're finding their options and seeing what's available to them through digital means to solve this challenge. And we'll come back to this and what this means and what some of the things Magnolia businesses can do to emphasize themselves in their offerings here. But one thing I will also touch on multiple times is knowing the consumer, knowing their challenge, where are they coming from, and using that to tailor your offering, whether that's a product or a service or even a marketing effort. So with that said, I know this is on everyone's mind, but it bears repeating here that folks are staying home. In this era of more limited mobility due to the pandemic, there's a lot of information to show that people really are staying home. This is a public report that actually Google did on mobility, users of Google services, and it found, you may be able to see here, folks are visiting parks, but they're not going to work. They're staying in their neighborhoods, and they're not going to retail locations. Again, I think, probably no surprise to the business owners and business folk in Magnolia, but it helps to know that this is not only a broader trend, but there are really substantial numbers here. And then the other piece here is with the governor's announcement last week. I think it's clear that the light at the end of the tunnel may not be as close as we hope it to be. And with that, I think it's more important than ever to recognize individuals' limited mobility with the rise of this pandemic means that local is more important than ever. So appealing to your local community, knowing who those consumers are, and reaching them when they may not be walking past your signage or your doorstep is still important, and I would even argue more important than ever. And there are some key consumer behavioral changes that have taken place too. And this is citing a report that McKinsey had done for a much larger, not for Magnolia, but a much larger swath of the world. But I think that the behavior changes ring true and are worth repeating here. There are folks shifting their buying to value goods and focusing on household essentials. Again, probably no surprise given all the news stories about toilet paper shortages and things of that nature. There's also a flight to digital. So companies who have a digital channel for consumption report sometimes double-digit increases in terms of the shift of buyers coming into those digital channels for products and services that have that ability. Loyalty to a brand means a little bit less now in a broader context than it did before. If you don't have your product available, I'm going to go find another product, because I'm, again, coming back to focusing on essentials and focusing on value. And then what's meant by the health and caring economy is people care about the way that these products are produced as it pertains, or delivered as it pertains to the safety of themselves, their families, in a time where health and safety are now forefront on many folks' minds. And then the last piece here that I want to talk about is the homebody economy. And I don't know what that connotes for you, but for me, I was thinking about myself staying home so much and trying to make my home a nicer place to be. But actually what McKinsey was trying to get at with this report was people are going to stay home even after the government says it's safe to go out. You can go back out now and patronize these restaurants or patronize these businesses. There is a non-trivial portion of the population that says, I'm going to wait. I'm going to play it safe because of high-risk individuals at home, immunocompromised individuals or relatives. And so that's underpinning this idea that this is not a flash in the pan. This is obviously something that is that requires adaptation from business standpoint if you want to thrive, I think, in this environment, which, the notion of thriving seems probably very challenging for some individuals right now. So coming back to the neighborhood that's before us right now and how to then appeal to these individuals who are closest to us. And I know, on the map here, I've drawn an outline of Magnolia proper, the 98199 zip code. And I know, Pat and others have mentioned there's businesses outside that realm. But one of the reasons I raised the zip code is when you start engaging online and you start going down a path of online engagement, potentially even advertising, having that zip code is actually a powerful tool to ensure that, let's say you did go that advertising route, to say that you can take your small ad budget and only advertise to individuals who are in that neighborhood or in that zip code. And that's something, a really powerful mechanism that you can use to reach the consumers who are most likely to patronize your products and services. Obviously, you could expand it to other zip codes if appropriate, but that means you're not paying for clicks, if you go that route, for all of Seattle or all of King County who are searching for restaurants or gyms or spas or things like that. You're really just focusing in on the consumers that are a better conversion opportunity to a paying customer for you. So talking a little bit about what is this market and who's it made of. I want to introduce first this concept of psychographic segmentation that's been around for a number of decades in marketing. But the gist of this is it's not enough to just know who the person is in order to design a product or come up with a marketing strategy to reach them. You have to know a little bit more about them. You have to know why they act on certain things, what motivates them, and go beneath kind of the surface of their age and their location and things like that. Otherwise, again, you'll be targeting products or services or engagement at a larger pool than you intend. And that's more energy and effort and less, return and activity for your business. And so this is a focus just on why. Why do you do those things? And the makeup of the Magnolia profiles that we identified using Esri's Tapestry service for Magnolia here is really kind of three-tier. And I think this probably comes at no surprise for the folks who've been in the neighborhood for some time and in this area. We have very affluent population, generally speaking. And what we found from this psychographic dimension is we have this urban chic group that represents about a third of the neighborhood. These folks have, a lot of married couples. They're in their 40s potentially, very well educated, avid readers, travelers, etc. We have the high income earners, the top tier group, who are literally the top income earners in the entire United States, who shop upscale locales, high-end retailers, patrons of the arts, again, extensive travelers. And then an up-and-coming segment in the neighborhood are the metro renters. So these folks maybe have roommates. They typically rent, as the name implies, as opposed to owning their home. They're spending a lot of their income proportionally on rent, technology, things like that, as opposed to charity, art, things that maybe the top tier would be engaging on. And most importantly, and I'll come to drive this home a couple times, is this digital first, really digital only type of consumption of information to find new products and services. And I'm going to go through each of these in a little bit greater detail and give you some examples of where they would patronize. But I also want to just, before I go into that depth, is just share that, this information is sourced from not only core census demographic information, but consumer behavior reports from the credit bureaus, and some additional sources that Esri actually weaves together to create this information, to go beyond kind of those surface level demographic pieces. And again, these are representative profiles. You're not going to walk out and find that person that you see on the screen necessarily, but I hope it maybe you're already thinking, and you're evoking some of your customers and thinking of them in these categories, in these buckets. So on the urban chic side, I want to focus a little bit more on their market profile. These are individuals, they shop at Whole Foods, they're going to Costco because they potentially have a larger household, maybe they have a parent living with them, maybe they have children with them as well, so they're buying in bulk, they're going out of the neighborhood to shop primarily for groceries or potentially ordering that in. Now, focus on organic foods, imported wine, travel when that's a safer thing to do. Again, great consumers of information, but a large part of their consumption of information comes through tech for these individuals. They're very successful in their careers so far. The top tier, these individuals skew a little bit older on the age spectrum. You find these households are maybe at the end of their careers, or maybe they're semi-retired, or they're consulting in a part-time role or something, or just falling back on their investments. A large percentage of their household income comes from investments. These folks traditionally would have a social calendar, patronizing the arts, opera, visiting galleries, day spas and salons of a more premium nature. Also extensive travelers. From a retail side, they'd be shopping at Target, Kohl's, Macy's, and they are more of a delegating profile in terms of the way that they get things done, as opposed to doing it themselves. It would be more like hiring a financial advisor to manage their investments, having a gardener, having a housekeeper, things of that nature for this profile, that delegation activity. And then the last one that I want to emphasize here are these metro renters who, again, are striving to be sophisticated, but are more at the beginning of their career journey. Some actually may still be enrolled in college or in some sort of part-time program, though they are probably well educated for their age demographic. And then most importantly, they're really well informed and through technology first. They're spending time on Facebook, they're on Instagram, Twitter, really first on these type of platforms. And they may even be, the most comfortable with living their lives primarily online, which I know is probably a huge shift for so many folks at this point in time specifically. They engage in yoga, Pilates, we saw this on a couple of the other profiles too, and they'd be more shopping at the Gap or Nordstrom from a retail perspective. So some of the common denominators we were able to boil out here is this tech capable, tech savvy. At the very least, these individuals own mobile devices. They're engaging with web content, and sometimes in very different ways. There's also a real focus on experiences. I can't emphasize this piece enough. It's not just the thing and I take it home, or the food that goes in my mouth. It's what's the broader experience that I'm willing to pay for. Are you making me feel something when I'm consuming this good? If so, what? Am I learning a skill that makes me feel a certain way? Certainly this ties very well with the sense for travel that all three of these segments shared. Go-getters, ambitious career folk who are at various stages of their career, as you probably could maybe infer. And then also a focus on social responsibility and some sustainability elements there. And what I mean by that is there is an environmental aspect to that, but there's also this considering other stakeholders. It's not, kind of zoom out a little bit, it's not just shareholders, it's stakeholders. And that includes the employees. So there is a care paid to how are businesses treating their employees? How are they navigating this unique environment that exists today? That's something they pay attention to across these demographics. And so weaving these things together to try to come up with some more concrete takeaways before we shift gears into reaching these individuals. As you think about your product offerings or your services, I would encourage you to think about the sustainability dimension. I would encourage you to think about the experience that you're providing to customers, the digital nature of that, and then, what kind of convenience or value can you provide to these individuals, considering the shift to value and essential goods that COVID has brought. So just as an example here, thinking about gardening class, something that can be promoted as sustainable, maybe a gardening distance class or a remote gardening class or something like that. But it's very experiential. It can be marketed digitally, and it certainly can be conceived of in a way that is convenient, depending on how it's implemented. We're going to deliver the gardening kit to you, and you'll go do it. This may not fly for the high tier who prefers to have a gardener, but for the other tiers, this would probably resonate very well. So this is just a scorecard matrix to try to frame your initiatives and your efforts as a business, for these common areas to address the broader set. Now, you know your consumers probably better than anyone else here, and so you'll have to evaluate that effectiveness for your own business and consumers, or think about other consumers that you want to start appealing to. And to that end, I want to talk to you more about how do you reach these individuals. I think it probably won't come as a surprise. I haven't buried this lead, I think, too deeply, which is to lean digital as you work to engage these individuals. And especially with that, with the urban chic and the metro renter groups, there's a heavy emphasis on digital. And again, probably no surprise here, but now more than ever, folks are turning to technology in their own home in terms of finding solutions to household problems or self-fulfillment, things that they would have maybe discovered or stumbled upon out in the world. They're not getting the chance. They're not going out and having that. So now they're stumbling upon it, through their digital consumption of information. And so folks are discovering products and services and new brands and things like that online. Other dimension here in terms of digital benefits that are innate is you can personalize any of the campaigns that you do, depending on, again, how you choose to implement digital with your business. If you go the advertising route, you can tailor which ads show up to which groups based on certain preferences and pieces of information. That's why I come back to know who your consumer is, or know who you want your consumer to be. And then that way you can target your content, your web presence to reach those individuals more effectively in a way that they'll recognize and understand. It probably won't come as a surprise that 70% of Americans do a Google search every month, and the average searcher is searching actually 3 or 4 times a day. From the image here, you can see this is a search for an accountant from within Magnolia, an important distinction I mentioned before about knowing where the search came from in terms of what ads get, not only ads, but also businesses get surfaced. And so ads are a great way to help surface your business because, as you can see from this image here on the right, the ads are right there at the top. And if you can refine that to just the consumers that you're looking to reach, it can be actually relatively cost effective to direct them to your business, as opposed to relying on them scrolling down, 15 times. And we'll kind of go through a checklist of things you can do to evaluate your business's digital presence. Facebook, of course, is a great way to engage with brands in a really image-heavy, experiential way. 68% of Americans use Facebook every day, and they have an integrated platform where ads can appear in their newsfeed. You can actually have it show up in Instagram, which is their service as well. Facebook Marketplace, where folks actually, you can advertise where folks are selling their own goods between one another. And then Instagram is a smaller number of daily users in the United States, but it tends to skew younger. So if you identify that, for instance, Metro Renter sounds a lot like your desired consumer, or the folks who are patronizing your business or your services the most, then you may want to make that decision and say, oh, I think Instagram is where I'm going to get more value because this is where I'm tailoring my product. This is my ideal consumer. So I want to share a little bit about content marketing. This is a post I pulled from a Kirkland business that actually had the Kirkland downtown area has some similar demographic and psychographic profiles to parts of Magnolia here. And so we surveyed various Kirkland businesses as well and tried to identify where social content was striking a notable reception. And in this case, this organic food market achieved 200% increase on normal engagement that they had on the rest of their posts this year. And some of the things that I would just point out on this line of engagement is they acknowledge their commitment to various stakeholders, right? They talk about their local organic farmers who supply them. They talk about their employees. So it goes beyond just the product that they have. They aren't focusing on their product. They're not promoting and saying, please buy this, or, come and check out our new radishes. This is just about what they're doing right now and how they care about the community and nourishing the community. And it really, if you can think back to the sustainability, the local and sustainable element, they're really appealing to that here. And they got good engagement, exceptional engagement from their specific network. There's also this authentic dimension to it because it's clearly written by that person or framed that way. Not like a professional writer who would say, oh, caps lock got stuck on or something. This is, someone trying to get their message through authentically. So some of the actions that you can take for your business or start working through here is, first and foremost, is know where you stand digitally. Put yourself back in the shoes of that busy parent who I shared at the beginning of the presentation, who's trying to solve this problem of, I don't want to cook tonight. What solutions do I have? What things can I do? And how they're going to engage potentially with your business, whatever your business may be. So come back to your consumer and think about how they're engaging today, primarily digitally, in terms of discovering solutions to their problems. And so that's thinking about, if we take that restaurant example a little bit more, do you show up where you think you show up? Do you have a menu that's easily intelligible and clear for folks to see? Is it obvious how folks can order and pick up food or get delivery? Connecting with your customers on social, like the dairy market example, is a great way to actually get kind of a two-way sync of information to see what's resonating in a way that you don't have to wait for, okay, how many orders come in or how many people sign up for new sessions or something. It's right there and they're engaging with it. And you're able to track and then iterate over time. Participating in new online content, one of the things, if you search for your product or service, that I guarantee you will find is top something or other article. The top gyms in Seattle to go to, the top yoga studios to go to. So this is online content, representing your business and online content with these oftentimes third-party groups, magazines, online forum, is an opportunity to also increase your presence online. And then learning from what you try and then trying something new is this cycle that I would just emphasize in terms of these actions for your business. There's not a one size fits all. If I were to come up with one, it would be, social engagement and advertising, targeted advertising and things like that. But in terms of managing your own time and energy and investment on this, it's thinking about who your consumers are, how your products resonate with them, or how they could resonate better, and then finding an online approach that's going to help emphasize that. So this is a checklist that we put together in terms of actually assessing your digital health of your business. Some of these things that I talked about just now is, do you show up? Don't search for your business, search for what you provide and see if you show up like you think you do. Are you on reviews? What do those reviews say? Are you engaging and actively going out there and responding to them on the platforms that allow it? or are you at the very least internalizing and thinking about how you could revise your product or service to change that? Your website. Is your website up to date? Is it clear to understand? And this is a really important topical one. Do you explain how your business is adapting with COVID-19? Are you taking safety precautions for your consumers? Whether you're delivering services to them, they're coming in or picking up something, or even if your business has adapted to a fully online delivery model, a remote session type situation, are you explaining that? Is that very clear when folks first land on your website that I can still do business with you, and I would like to, and here's how and here's why in this unprecedented time. Those kind of acknowledging the situation around us resonate well with these consumers. Are you on the map? Literally. Are you showing up in Google Maps, in Bing, Apple Maps, when folks search for your business? There's a number of businesses that search for themselves and the pin for their business is in the wrong place, or it's on an old address. So these are ways that people are not going to be able to find your business. I'll say this, even if folks aren't using direction software to find your business, like drive to your business at this point in time, many people still use the Maps applications to find businesses around them, even to do ordering, even to engage digitally, because there's this more intrinsic dimension of things around me as opposed to a generic search. You have a business page for Facebook. We mentioned the importance of social engagement, the actual delivery services. So folks may not use a search mechanism, Google or Bing, et cetera, to say, so-and-so restaurant delivery. They may go right to the delivery app, and then that will constrain and inform everything that they see from then on. So an ad placed at the search level wouldn't catch that individual who is looking at it just from the delivery option side of things. And then, again, I hope this isn't too much repetition, but this is a really important point. It's think about who your consumer is. Who's your consumer today? Who's the consumer that you want? Who's the customer who is going to benefit most from your product and service? Do you know how they're engaging with things? Do you know how they're, the unique challenges they're facing with COVID-19? And how can you help solve their problems and challenges with your products and services? If you're, if you do like athletic training or something like that, are you specifically addressing the fact that everybody's sitting at home? Many people are sitting at home. Do you know how bad sitting is? Do you know some exercises you can do to help remedy that and save your body from this terrible sedentary lifestyle that so many people lead? So that's one way that you can try to specifically tailor the message. I think we'll share the slides, or at least you could search some of these things as well. There's a number of resources out there from Google, Facebook, and other places that are all about, for small businesses, getting started, setting up your business profile, doing a checklist and going through, getting started with Google Analytics. This is a really great option for folks who already have a website. Do you have a way to understand the traffic that's coming to your website? Do you know what people are clicking on your website? Some web platforms have this built in. Maybe you lean on someone else to do that. But there may be great questions and insights, again, if you're not the one doing the website, that you could get from that person who's helping you or who's working for you. Hey, what's my most visited page? Where do people stop? Where do they arrive? Where are they coming from on the web? And then why don't they click on order? Or why don't they click on, buy now? What's stopping them? Where do they get stopped in the process? Free lessons and learning through the Facebook Blueprint program. And there's a couple other programs out there that help small businesses. There's a wealth of information out there. It's some really overwhelming, actually, how much is out there, but there's some tried and true options that offer a lot. I'll just mention the Google Analytics piece. I know that it can be intimidating too, but they have a pay for like a freemium model where for most small businesses, it's actually free to use Google Analytics for most of the core tools, which is really awesome and a great way to get started if you already have that web presence built up. So just to recap, I know we're going to carve out some time for Q&A here, but think about who your local shoppers are. you think about who's in the marketplace that your products and services are going to appeal to. Maybe the psychographic profiles help frame that a little bit for you. Maybe your historic usage or the historic patrons are going to be what inform your product and outreach. Make sure you have online presence. Cover those bases in terms of website, social presence, business pages, maps, delivery services, etc. And then think about engaging with them, actually going out and how can I reach those consumers? One of the things that I mentioned there, it could be social content entirely. It's low cost, more time and energy. You could do advertising, jump to the head of the line, so to speak, right ahead of other folks searching for that, just for the Magnolia area, if you configure that. And then iterate. Again, the first time you do this will probably be the worst time, and you really can grow from there. And the really awesome thing about digital tools is that you have the numbers and information to be able to say, this thing I tried was really effective. I'm going to do that again. This thing I tried didn't work so well. I'm not going to do it again, but I'm going to learn from it. And I'm going to see why didn't that work well? And depending on the platform, people might just tell you. Or at least you could ask them, for instance, or reach out to them too and understand why why weren't you interested in my product or service? So there's a really awesome opportunity to actually engage with folks. So with that, I just want to say that we're going to ask for 2 business volunteers. It's not, you have to necessarily raise your hand now. It's please reach out to Jason if you're interested in participating. And these individuals, I'm going to work with you in the coming month, and we'll do a couple of remote meetings, and I'll help you assess your online profile. I'll help you identify maybe areas of opportunity in your current marketing outreach, documenting what you do today, who that's going to resonate for. You're going to tell me who your consumers are as well. And then thinking about maybe revising your product offering or evaluating how that product offering sits with your designated consumers and the folks from the neighborhood who we think maybe you're not necessarily making inroads with. And so then we'll share the recommendations, ideas for specific things you can do to improve those things, and come back together in our deep dive session on August 25th next month to actually share and talk about that experience and some of the outcomes. Maybe a little early for real outcomes, maybe not. Digital, certainly it's the speed of light, but it's an opportunity to hopefully find some really awesome things to help your business, and to then share that with your fellow business owners through the Chamber of Commerce here. So with that, again, one last plug. I want to thank you so much for your time. We do have some time for Q&A, and I just really appreciate you taking the time to hear me out on this, and I hope it's been helpful for you.
Thank you, Chris. That was tremendous and very thoughtful. And I think the layers are available to us. You can see how many layers there are. I sort of dig through it, and I agree. You don't have to accomplish it all at once, but chipping away at your efforts will be very insightful for all of us, all these different businesses of Magnolia. To the question and answers, Jason, did you have that coordinated?
Well, yeah, we wanted to try to make this as manageable as possible. So hopefully you have a few questions on your mind after hearing that. But if you look at your screen for Zoom down at the bottom right, you see a thing that says reactions. You hover over that and click on it. There's 2. There's a thumbs up or their hand raise. If you want to be able to ask a question, if you'll press that real quick, just so we don't have everybody talking over each other real quick, and we'll call on questions we have. All right, why don't we start with Erica? Erica, do you need me to unmute? There you go, Erica.
I think we were challenging each other. I've been in Zooms all day. So I think one of the things that we have struggled with the online advertising piece is we don't necessarily believe that what is a click or a like translates to an actual customer in the store, because our particular business model is a customer has to come into our store. And so we're not seeing that translate. Like so we've always advertised within the 98199. One of our customers actually works for Facebook, and so she's been giving us her advertising credits that she gets. So we have a very small, loyal group, but unfortunately, the word small accurately describes our customers that are loyal. And so that's the piece that I feel like we're missing, is how to see that our online presence actually translates into a customer in the door. If that's.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's it is a core challenge as you kind of take this step into digital, is this conversion idea. So great, we're engaged here, and you've come to my website, but what does that mean for my business? And like you said, if your business relies on someone physically coming down to your location, that's a much greater leap than just an extra button click or 2 button clicks or what have you. And so that's going to introduce just an innate level of friction to how many folks you capture. I will say this, I don't know this particular business. I'm certainly, if you're interested in volunteering, happy to work with you as well. But there may be an opportunity even with this digital engagement in terms of communicating with your consumers. If you already have that rapport, building specifically, what are you doing for COVID that makes them more comfortable to come in, and adapting to that. Maybe you've already explored that, but if you have to come in, how do you make that something that's tenable for folks, given the kind of the risk and concerns that people have today? There is another dimension too there, which is you may think about products or services in the future that allow you to capture some more innate online business. That may not be the case, but there are even ways, like I was working with a family friend of mine who runs a candy shop. I was helping him set up his website and start exploring this world. And for the first time, really, for his business, he relied on people coming in and buying packages of fudge and candies and things. And so, for him, he was able to bridge over to e-commerce and actually shipping things out to folks. But there were people who wanted to support his business. He had very local patrons. And so one of the things that we're exploring is just having some branded hats and things like that for his business. It was nowhere on his roadmap of things he was considering before, but in his area, he's got a strong local community who wanted to support him in that way. And that's an interesting thing that we're exploring. So that's going even away from his traditional and core product offering to something different. It's not there's not a one size fits all, like, oh, you forgot to click this button and now it's all solved forever. But it really is trying to think through this specific challenge and also identifying your consumers and appeal to them in a way that addresses their specific concerns that are going to prevent them from coming to your business.
Thank you. Erica, any follow-up to that, or?
No, that's great. That's fine. Thank you very much.
Anna, did you have a question you wanted to ask?
Yes, thank you. Good evening, everyone. A lot of our business is building and personal relationships, and a lot of our marketing is face-to-face. So I'm wondering what your thoughts are on making the shift to more webinar-style interactions with clients or with potential clients who live in the neighborhood.
Yeah. And a quick question, you're making the first contact with folks in person traditionally?
Traditionally, yeah. Yeah, either out in the community or by holding educational events.
So then I think there's an opportunity. It sounds like your consumers, or you have kind of a segment identified. I think a dimension here is, where are they online is one thing. Where are they going, that you're not relying on them searching for you or necessarily your product, but you're saying, what are the types of things that the consumers that are a good fit for my service, what are they looking for? What are they patronizing? And then there is a way to actually show up, at least from an advertising perspective. You show up when they're looking for those things. Both Facebook and Google can do this from an ad perspective. There are content marketing strategies too, where you can think about the things that folks are concerned with in your ideal consumer segment, and then interject your offering there. You might find that maybe it's folks who have a family or a certain place in their career or something like that. So it's thinking about the things where you could intersect with those individuals, even though it may be kind of tangential to what you actually, the actual service that you provide. Now, I will say there is also a logistics element there of doing the online sessions. That's another piece of the digital presence, is making it really easy for folks to work with and communicate with you. The scheduling mechanism, being able to convey clearly, click here and, take the next available appointment or schedule an appointment like that. And I'm certain that's probably something you've already thought through too, but certainly one that you want to have the logistics down to. The challenge that Erica was sharing is they need to go somewhere. Once you have that awareness of your product or service, where do they go? And that's like well, let's get on a phone call and then I'll tell you how to use our web platform, and then we'll schedule a thing. Like there's many touch points. And just in terms of reducing that, from awareness capture to, conversion to paying customer, you want to minimize that friction, for that entire cycle. So literally thinking about how many clicks is this, putting yourself in the customer's shoes too, like going through it yourself. I'm sure you have, but saying, wow, that was 18 clicks, or this part was confusing. How do I eliminate that part? I'm going to eliminate this web page, and I'm just going to condense it, make it very clear about what's going on. So there's just, some thoughts. Obviously, there's a lot there, and it's based on where you are today and what type of strategy that you have to reach your consumers. One thing, and Erica, I didn't talk about this when I was answering your question before, but ways to collaborate or cross-brand or do different initiatives. You were talking about this, Anna, in person, where you're doing different events and there's other products and services there, and you're able to kind of engage with folks as they're engaging with a different topic. Thinking about that even now digitally, talking to those same businesses and saying, how can I get represented? We're all struggling, at this point and trying to work through this. Maybe there's a way that as you bring consumers, we can, refer to one another or things like that. Those connections could still be leveraged today.
Yeah, I think that's a great reminder. Your previous point about how efficient is this to get from the online search to us? How many clicks does it take? And just making that as efficient and easy for those busy families. Thank you.
Right. All right, any other questions? Maybe one more? All right. Sounds like you solved all the problems, Chris.
Well, Chris. I hope we get some volunteers and I can actually try to dig in a little bit more. It's hard to come up with kind of one size fits all type things, but I'd love the opportunity to sit with you and talk through your business and see if I can help. This is totally, free service. I'm just trying to volunteer some of my expertise and assistance here. So, love to connect on this. And one kind of point I want to say, and I know then we're going to adjourn here, is thinking back to the experience piece. And I was thinking a little bit more about your situation is what kind of experience can you give a customer today? How do you work with other businesses or come up with something and maybe some out of the box ideas? And that's even something that we could work together on and think about.
Real quick, Alex, did you have a quick question? Go ahead.
Okay, I'm here. No, it's not really a question. It's more a reaction, or maybe just talking about my own experience about social medias and network. Here at the bakery, we have now a website that I built on myself with the platform called Squarespace. It's working nice, and you can get lots of analytic results about who is clicking from where, on what page and everything. You can get all the results on your cell phone. That's very easy to deal with. We are using for the bakery mostly Facebook, Instagram, and Nextdoor. Nextdoor is very important because it's a very local network and you are able to reach people. Right now, I got in July 2 free posts that you can do as a business, because usually if you are a private person, you are not able to do advertising on Nextdoor. It's against the guideline, but they can authorize you to do it sometimes with your profile, with your business profile. So I was able to do that. So for example, today I just post online on Nextdoor my new cake menu that we have updated. So I was able to reach about 16,000 people from a radius of 2 miles around the Magnolia village. But the real issue is to get some feedback, because just a few people will thank you. Maybe 1 or 2 will call in the next day, but that's it. So it's very important to me to post all the time, all the time, all the time, all the time. I'm posting on Facebook and Instagram like every day. Just after the beginning of the pandemic, we were closed during 1 month. And when we reopened, we launched a platform with a Square register to let people order online their croissant for the weekend. The first weekend we had like 150 orders, so it was a lot. And the next weekend we had 120, and after 80, and after 60, and after 40, 20, 12, 15, 9. And right now my platform is open for the next weekend, and right now I have 1 order. So, but that's not a big deal, that because we have a brick and mortar business, and as it was said earlier, people have to come to buy croissant. I don't send a croissant in an envelope like Amazon could do. So the more we came back to business for real, the less we get order online. It's a balance between if we are completely closed, people will come over online and order and pick up. If we get back on business in the real life, people will stop ordering online. And every time I try to engage more people, I tried almost everything on Facebook, doing some French humor or doing some coupons, everything. It's really, really hard to get people here. And you also have to know that in Magnolia, there is lots of also retired people, or people who are not really engaged with all the social stuff, media, online. We already receive tons of stuff every day. So something like for example, the new beautification of the village with tables and chairs could be also as much important and maybe more than the social presence, because this is real life. People are gathering for real. They can discover the merchant and everything. So I think that's really important too. So that's it for the moment. I spoke too much. Just to say also that from time to time, I pay some advertising on Facebook, a few bucks like this, because I will not spend hundreds of dollars. That doesn't make any sense. And on Google, I don't do it because I already pay a professional Google account. I use Google Drive, so Google is using all my data and make money with my data. So I will not pay for advertising on Google, as I already give them money. That's it.
Thank you, Alex. So again, thanks, Chris, for all your hard work. I know you had a team that went through this process with you, but thank you for representing them and taking the extra step. and also taking a third step, it looks like, and volunteering to sit down with a couple of businesses. Just as a reminder, as he said, we're going to do another one of these August 25th, about a month away. And we're looking for 2 businesses that would want to go through this process with Chris directly and just talk about their presence and how that can be helped. So let's not do it here tonight, but if you would email me, jason@discovermagnolia.org, just let me know your interest in that and we can talk. Other things coming up, one of the things we want to start doing, tonight is Mag Talks. It's kind of a new thing. It's all about branding. We've done a few of these before with financial pieces and security and stuff like that, but we want to start doing these on a regular basis, and kind of a mixture of professional stuff like this, as well as just general interest topics. So right now we're looking at the next one being August 13th. There's a lady that's in charge of Seattle Opera that we are going to try to have talk about, what they're doing in times of COVID and how the arts are dealing with that. And so encourage you to join us for that too. Another new thing that we're implementing is called Chamber Chat. We have recorded 4 of those so far. And what these are is just kind of getting to know you. You are the business owner, you, the member of the community. It's a very informal, me sitting with you on a format like this, one-on-one, and just kind of hearing your story. So it's a good way for the community to be able to watch and video is taking off as far as popularity, especially those 18% young ones that we talked about earlier that we're all trying to find a way to reach. But it's a very informal opportunity just to say, tell us your story, tell us what you've learned in the last few months, talk about a little bit about just you. One of the things we want to do is make you as human as possible to the community, so they know that when they're supporting local, they're supporting a neighbor, they're supporting a person. It's not just your business. So if you're interested in being one of those, like I said, we've recorded 4 of those. We're going to release 1 a week, probably on Saturdays. If you want to be one of those, it's about as painless as possible. I'll send you a link to join a meeting like this, just the 2 of us. And it's pretty easy and fun. So let me know if you're interested in that too. Last couple things, we have still some PPE left. We've announced that through partnerships, we've been able to hand out hand sanitizer, disposable masks, or reusable masks. And the hand sanitizer, as you can imagine, went quickly, but we do still have plenty of both types of masks. So if you would like some of that, again, let me know. Just send me an email. I think that was it. I appreciate, again, your time. I know you don't have an extra hour typically as business leaders, but thank you for taking this time to invest in yourself and your business in the community. Thank you again to Chris and for David and those who helped put this together. That's it. Have a great night. Take care.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.